Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Big Apple Film Festival virtual seminar. My name is Jonathan Lipp. I am the festival director, and I am here today with Adam Sorota. Adam, can you hear me okay?
Yep. Hi, Jonathan.
All right. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks. So thank you all for joining. Adam is a senior director at NBCUniversal, and he is here today to provide some feedback and guidance and advice for those of you who are interested in creating a series, whether it be for TV or for streaming. So I'm going to begin by asking Adam to tell us a bit about himself, how he got into television directing, how he ended up at NBCUniversal. He had prior to this, he had directed content as well for Viacom, BET, and MTV. And now he's, as I said, at NBCUniversal. So let's get into how Adam got to where he is today. And I'm going to ask you, while he's giving us his intro, if you all who have questions can begin putting your questions into the chat box. And in addition to that, if you have a brief log line for your project, if you could include that as well. So when you ask your question, we know specifically what project we're talking about. So as Adam's giving us his intro, if you could just start putting it into the chat box, then we can jump right into it and we can begin the Q&A portion. So Adam, if you want to go ahead and tell us a bit about yourself, that would be great. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Jonathan. I'm Adam Sorota. I'm a DGA director. I've been a director for about 35 years. I started in the Boston area being a technical director, moved on to directing in did all news in Boston, multicam. And I also did, for 2 years, I was a commercial producer and a director for commercials, local commercials. In the mid-90s, I moved to New York. I worked for VH1. I directed for about 2 years there. Launched MSNBC in '97. Did a lot of music concerts, did TRL for about 3 years. If anybody knows what that show was, for MTV. BET, did a lot of music, a lot of news. And in 1998, I started directing the Sally Jesse Raphael show, and I've been working for the same syndication group at NBC since 1998, directing various talk shows, concerts, music. Did a couple years of Celebrity Poker, which was a network poker show in Las Vegas. And have done a lot of single camera, commercials, short films, been the second unit director on a bunch of features. And then to end up, I'm trying to be quick, but to end up the career or where I am now, last year I produced and directed a short, A Bathroom on Drake. There's the poster. Very proud of it. It premiered at Big Apple and won Best Short. It starred my very good friend Jerry Springer. It was a wonderful 8-minute film. And, that's where I met Jonathan. And I really, really enjoyed doing it. Currently, I'm overseeing 6 syndication shows for NBC, and I will report that we are in full production. There are no audiences anymore, and we do a lot of social distancing. The control rooms are all separated, and that's it. Now I'm here with you today.
And A Bathroom on Drake premiered at Big Apple Film Festival this past February. So if you want to just tell us a little bit about A Bathroom on Drake, the concept, and kind of how it all came about.
Yeah, A Bathroom on Drake was really to get me into the drama world. As a DJ director, I've shadowed with other directors on dramas for NBC, and I'm trying to transition from multicam to single camera, even though these big dramas have 2 or 3 cameras. They're considered single camera. So I decided I was looking for a script, and I reached out to some friends and said, hey, I want a script, but it has to win an award, because I didn't have the bandwidth or the time to start working with a writer with a script that wasn't finished. So I felt that if it went to a festival and at least placed or got in or something, then it would just be further along. I thought that a comedy would be the easiest, which you should really rethink that, because after I committed to the script, I realized that it better be funny because it was a comedy. And by the way, at the wonderful premiere, people did laugh, and that made me kind of happy. So I also knew as a director, I needed a piece of work to help me and help my agent kind of present me to drama, to producers that do dramas versus multicam. So I wanted it to be a period piece. So we actually shot this in the 1960s. We shot it in Brooklyn with an all New York based, and New York, everybody was from New York. It was super cool. It was considered a big budget short. I had very good partners that gave me enough money to do it. We shot it in 3 days. We edited for about maybe a month and a half. And it was a really, really good experience. I had a great crew. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever directed.
And where can we see a Bathroom on Drake next? Any other screenings planned, festivals, anything like that?
Yeah, well, I'm sure if many of you are in the festival circuits got a little weird. We didn't really get into what we thought we would, only because, well, you can't take it personal when you're in a festival because you don't know what they're looking at. I think it's the best film ever, but even in the Big Apple, I couldn't believe the variety and the level of quality and how good the other shorts were. So you never think about that, wow, there's a lot of other filmmakers making really nice films. And some of them didn't have a big budget. Some of them had a $2,000 budget, and I laughed my butt off, and it was shot really nicely and edited nicely. So, really to end that comment is that, I really, it was unfortunate with the pandemic about the festivals because they really cut them down and they became very defined. And frankly, a lot of the local ones they only accepted films in that market. And so the whole festival thing. So we have been holding the film publicly for distribution. I do have 3 offers to actually sell it. And I'm kind of holding off till we finish the rest of the festival. But if you go to directoradam.com, which is my website, you can watch it. You can't download it, but under trailers and clips, you can watch it. We made a 30-second trailer, and the film's a little bit over 8 minutes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let me get into, so the film's called The Bathroom on Drake, just to let everyone know, and the website is directoradam.com. So let me get into the questions here, as I'm sure some of our filmmakers are anxious to get their projects off the ground. All right, I'm just going to go in order. So first we have from Adam Summer. What advice do you have for recent college graduates as creatives trying to network and break into the industry?
So that's a long answer, but I will make it quick. It's actually not hard for people to break into the industry. It depends on what you want to do. It is hard to sell a script or a film without having an agent, a manager, a production company. It's kind of like a catch-22. You need all these contacts to sell a script. But to get a job, I really used LinkedIn. I have to tell you, with my contracts with NBC, I'm really not on social media. I have a couple accounts. I don't really participate. I really use LinkedIn as a business model, and I have hired production assistants, and I have, I hire directors and ADs, and I hire crew, and I hire people for NBC, and I have definitely interviewed and connected with the people on LinkedIn. I think it's really good for you to reach out. Most executives and people will accept you, and I think that you need to go along the lines is just become their connection. Don't hit them up right away with, hey, I need a job. Just networking. Go on all the websites of all the networks. At NBC, we do look at the resumes. We have people at 30 Rock that will send my group resumes. And really that's the best thing to do is network. Build up your networking as much as you can. Do seminars like this, connect with people like Jonathan and different people that on the peripheral kind of connect the whole industry together. You know, I wouldn't have met Jonathan unless I did this film. So now he has opened me up. I met other filmmakers. We connected with other filmmakers. It's all about networking.
Cool. Thank you. The next question comes from John. How do I get my film in the streaming world? The film, it's Kensington in Crisis, about the opioid epidemic exposed in Philadelphia. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the content.
I mean, that's a little bit out of my, I really, you know, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm learning the streaming stuff myself. You know, what I found, I really don't have a lot of experience in this because I'm also trying to see where we're going to put this film eventually. I do know if you have a film and you want to go on the festival circuit, you shouldn't make it public because many of the film festivals will disqualify you. But if you're just making a film to get it out there, I know YouTube has a platform for that. I know HBO Max has a platform for that. But some of the bigger ones, probably it's hard to get on a Netflix or an Apple TV or something like that. There's a lot of podcasts that will premiere your film and different things. But really, I think a way to stream is to get into the film festival circuit because most of the film festivals are actually streaming now. And actually, even when our film and Big Apple had a premiere in New York City, you could see different things on their websites. And so really that's probably my answer, but I don't really have a lot of firsthand experience other than my own experience.
Okay. We have a filmmaker from Baltimore, Erin Rothwell. So it's a sitcom pilot. Dungeons and Dragons obsessed African-American high school history teacher pursues his dream of making LARPing a varsity sport. Meanwhile, a young Emirati socialite is forced to teach at the same school in order to keep her trust fund. So the question is, Erin's question is, I've done okay in screenwriting competitions, but stuck. Where do I go now? Is there a way to navigate hiring an agent to work with me?
Well, so it's funny so for instance, at NBC, in my division, we're part of syndication. So we take a lot of pitches and, you know, we read different copies and different treatments and things like that. You know, it definitely helps to get an agent. You have to know you're going to give them a flat at least 10%. A good agent will be very connected and get you in the room with people and get your script out there. We don't accept scripts. If you FedExed me a script, I would return it to you and not open it. It's unfortunate, but these large companies are all controlled by business affairs. So for instance, if you're a production company that's the best production company in the world for 20 years, if you're not a vendor of NBC, business affairs will vet you first before I can take a pitch from you. So really the end of the story with this is you have to get somebody to represent you that has connections in the genre that you're trying to sell the script to.
Right. And Adam, who had asked a question before about how to start out, just so you know, the log line for the show, it's The Wanderer. Follows a World War II veteran, con man, serial killer, John Dillon, as he escapes the perfect idyllic suburban life in the 1950s Maine and devolves further into madness, fighting with his own mortality as he travels across the U.S. So that's Adam's log line for his project. It's called The Wanderer.
Very interesting.
Yeah. All right, now we have Stuart. So Stuart has a project called Badoon, which is a horror. It's a historical horror. He has a 1-hour pilot thus far. It takes place in Haiti in 1806. A powerful voodoo priest must use his own powers to survive the political intrigue in newly independent Haiti. And Stuart's question is, what is the best home for this premium cable, basic cable network for streaming? What do you think is the best home for a project like this, a historical horror?
I mean, a historical horror, you know, it's similar to a Bathroom on Drake in a sense, because it's I don't call it historical, more of a period piece, which means, you know, you want it to look like the 1800s. I mean, the genre's out there. It's actually very popular. Netflix has a lot of different, you know, shows. There's a couple Draculas out there. There's, you know, it's not that hard. So it's twofold. It's not hard to produce a film that would be like historical horror or would be something that's a period piece. It's more about the cost of it. It will be very expensive because you'll have to rent, you know, the costuming will be big. If you have any outdoor scenes, any kind of horse and carriages, or, you know, those kinds of things. On a Bathroom on Drake, I got kind of lucky. I reached out to a young union wardrobe, assistant wardrobe person, costumer, and she actually made most of the costumes for me and was able to actually find the rest at Walmart or Target, which was really good because I really wanted them to look like, you know, the period. Our most expensive thing were the picture cars and all the props and the plants and propping out the house, the locations. So I think in a horror, it's going to have to be a good sized budget. And I really think that, you know, there's many, many avenues. I don't know them all. I am personally looking for horror scripts right now. My partners and I want to do a short and a feature as our next projects. There's so many different ways, and horror can actually make the most money out of any of the independent films. Rob Zombie, you know, the artist Rob Zombie, has actually a horror production company, and they are always looking for independent horror film scripts.
Cool.
And believe it or not, they do about 6 a year.
Right. And you mentioned you think Netflix is probably the best bet for something like this, like a historical.
I mean, I think that they all are. I think that depending on the budgets, it's going to be on the higher end. Right. Once you go that period route. If I didn't do the period piece for Bathroom on Drake, if it was like in the 90s, it would have cost half the money.
Right. And Stuart had also asked, he said the show combines supernatural elements and actual history. Is this kind of period hybrid viable? I imagine means like marketable.
I mean, it's more like, you know, if you ever read the books by Ken Follett, it's more of like a historical fiction novel, you know, and it actually, you know, it's funny because it's so crazy that I'm going to admit this, but I've been watching a lot of Netflix stuff. I'm watching this Legends of Tomorrow. It's like a DC Comics thing. Mm-hmm. And it's not a horror, but it has a lot of sci-fi, which is expensive, like all the CGI and all these different, you know, things that are expensive to produce. But yet, whenever they time travel, all of the figures that they meet are real, like Marie Antoinette. And so that's very popular right now. And it's really, you know, this guy Ken Follett, if you haven't read any of his books, Pillars of the Earth, or War of Two Worlds, like, or Fall of the Giants, not War of Two Worlds. Maybe that is, but Fall of the Giants. There's Pillars of the Earth. You know, really the historical fiction novels have been around for a long time. And now a lot of these different genres, whether it's sci-fi, horror, they're really doing a lot where they're bringing in history with real characters, but then your main characters are made up. So the storylines of the main characters kind of weave into history. So I think that that's a great genre. I think it's a great way to go. But again, it's going to be very expensive.
So I guess Stuart's really targeting two audiences. He's got history buffs and horror fans. So
exactly.
So Doug McGee, I don't see a question, but the log line, a female lawyer in Indiana who works to exonerate innocent death row inmates, is herself on the lam, wanted for murder in Louisiana. That's Doug's log line. I don't see a question with it, but do you see a home for something like
I don't know. It's way out of my league, that one.
that. Okay. Edward has a project called Cutterman. Chief Zeke Sylvan of the U.S. Coast Guard is passed over for the elite Cutterman designation due to his shortcomings as a leader, and he threatens to quit after brass force him to take command of his own ship to develop leadership. He's stretched emotionally, and he ineptly encounters drug cartels, terrorists, and the increasing crisis of climate change. This is a 1-hour pilot hybrid of a serial show. And I was here. Oh, wait, I don't see a question, but I have Doug's question from before. The question is attaching a showrunner rather than a producer to a series a viable approach to studios? So that's for Doug.
I mean, listen, so to answer the log line and everything, there's always listen, 20 years ago, I would say you have to go to, HBO's for this, Showtime's for this, ABC's for this, Fox came around, with the internet and all these streaming services. There's so many niche services, and any of these projects can work if you're going to fit in whatever that network or that streaming service is looking for. A showrunner and a producer, to me, are the same thing. A showrunner is somebody that will run your show. A producer is somebody that will run your show. They just have different job titles, but a lot of times you'll have an executive producer on a film or a drama or even a talk show that will run the writing room, work more with the directors, and work more with the talent. And then you have the showrunner who will deal with your ADs, your unit managers, and actually operating the show because it's a showrunner. Most smaller projects, like on my film, I had a producer that ran everything, and then we gave him a line producer that handled all the paperwork, and then the second AD did all the call sheets and everything. So it really depends on your budgets, but a showrunner a lot of times is like the co-executive producer, but there's still somebody above them that kind of runs all the creative. I think both work. I think you have to look at how each project is laid out, depending on, what you're looking for. Any good showrunner will have just as much clout as an executive producer. So you can only decide that depending on the person. There's really no rule about it.
Okay. Richard Benter he's asking, how do you create a series from a feature film instead of just making the movie? So his current series is American Neanderthal, which he has written a pilot and 6 other episodes. The film, he says, the film that I would like to create a series from his Final Transit, which is about to be distributed from Summerhill Entertainment. Final Transit is also available on Amazon Prime and Film Hub. The trailer to Final Transit is below, so he's provided us with the trailer. And the logline for American Neanderthal, crossbreeding of humans and Neanderthals throughout history has created superhumans at incredible strength and cunning who are then unleashed into society. And the logline for Final Transit, urban professionals are targeted to conversion by an alien invasion, must be rescued in time by alien mutants. But ultimately, it looks like the question is, how do you create a series from a feature film instead of just making the movie? So any thoughts on that, any experience in that area?
I mean, I don't really have an answer to that. I mean, the only thing I would say, if you look at, I found that it's more movies are made out of a series. Like if you go Downton Abbey or some of that stuff, it was a series that became a movie. It's not really my expertise, so I'm not really sure.
Okay.
Just what I would observe, like everybody else. So.
Right. Ivy Tobin, she has a project called My Life as a Doormat. A soap opera-ish dramedy, Rose, a baby boomer, has a freak accident, putting her into a coma where she revisits her life in the 1980s to understand how she became the neurotic people pleaser she is today. Tagline, how did I get here? And being awake is overrated. So her question is, as a new producer, how do I get my project in front of decision makers at networks or streaming services without an agent or a manager?
I mean, again, it's kind of I keep repeating myself, it's very hard to get somebody at a network to read. I'll give you an example. My very good friend who's experienced, she had a script for a drama. And how she went through it was she attached herself with a production company that had the showrunner, had some clout with networks, and then together they brought her into the room to pitch to the network. So it's really, really important. All of these networks have production companies that they keep going back to that make, all the different things for them, like for instance, there's different, what I would do is, because I used to do this when I would want to find a job, I would look at the credits and then I would reach out and actually back in the day, mail a letter and call somebody that was on the credits. So watch a Netflix, watch the genres that you like. Look at the production companies and the credits and the people that are doing it and just start reaching out to them because they have the inroads with the networks. If I wanted to pitch a movie about baking apples, my agent, because I have an agent, but I'm a 35-year veteran director, wish I was 35 years old, but my agent would connect me with production companies that are expertise with food shows. And we would have meetings and I would hope, she wouldn't just send me to the network as here's a food show. So if with all my experience, if I'm gonna do it that way, everybody's the same. Connect yourself with a company that has some kind of relationship with a network or some kind of streaming service, and they've actually produced shows, just like the I guess it's the Radical Brothers, or I think it's called Radical Productions now. They did all those shows with David Letterman, where he went around and interviewed Obama and Howard Stern and all of that. From that, they started getting a lot of different programming along those lines from Netflix. And if you look at a Netflix or an Apple TV, they have a lot of the same production companies. Back in the day when cable started, they would hire one production company that would do 4 or 5 of the same shows. So it's all along those same lines, is to try and reach out to production companies and producers that have relationship with the networks in the genre that you're trying to get into.
So it's more so focused on the production company as opposed to the actual network. So instead of going to like an NBC or a Netflix, it's more of the production company that are producing content for those platforms.
Right. Even in my world, when we shoot our daytime pilots, a lot of times we use the same production company to do 3 pilots, even though the genres are different, because we know how their teams work, and it's the same exact thing. The production companies are the ones that the networks are hiring to do it. If I sell a show to NBC, they're not going to say, all right, Adam, here's $6 million an episode, go produce it. They're going to take it and they're going to either produce it internally or give it to a production company that they work with that has produced other dramas for them. So it's the same thing. The production companies want is meant, in order for these production companies to make money, they have to do more projects. So if you're somebody that has a pitch and you can get a production company to say, okay, we'll take you to the network, it helps both people, but then understand you're going to have very little decision making in the process. You're going to be super excited that you sold a show to a network, but then when your lawyer reads through the 30-page agreement, you're going to realize that you should just be lucky you sold your show, because they're going to give it to a production company or do it internally, and they're going to produce it however they want.
And John asked again in regards to finding an agent. One of the things he mentioned was they have some awards already. Does that help, you think, when seeking out representation?
Yeah, listen, the agents are weird. I'm with Innovative Artists. I'm with Babette Perry at Innovative Artists. She's been at IMG, ICM. She's been at all these different agencies. I go with her. We've been together for about 18 years. I have her do all my deals, and it's a very good relationship. You're not going to normally, what I would suggest, because a lot of people ask me how they get an agent. An agent will hire you, or you can hire an agent, or an agent will accept you as a client if they feel that you're somebody that will make money for them. My agent loves me. If I didn't work and have deals for her to do for me, she wouldn't have me as her client. So don't ever think, remember, they could be your best friends, and my agent is wonderful. We have a great relationship, but it's still a business for them. And if they're going to spend time representing you and putting you in a room with somebody, it's because they think they can sell you. So again, it's all the same networking. Look online, everybody has all these resources that are available. Find, Google, it's as easy as agent for horror movies, agent for dramas, agent for multicam, agent for daytime. All these names will pop up, and really reach out. See if you can set some virtual meetings, or if we ever get to see each other again, some regular meetings. See if you like somebody. Make sure it's right for you. You don't want to sign up with an agent that's not going to put you out there, that's not going to work hard for you. So make sure it's a right fit. And if you find the right agent, there's lots of smaller agencies, boutique agencies, and it's really important, because I believe when you say to somebody, oh, I have an agent, or an agent is calling to represent you, it's a different level than me just reaching out on my
own. So moving on, we have Brady Bryson, and Brady has created an anthology series set in the first decade of the new millennium, which follows characters involved with controversial and taboo activities as they each follow individual paths, which ultimately lead them together at the conclusion of each season. Okay, I don't see a question there, but Brady, if you want to add in a question, I'm sure we can get to that as well. Then we have Desi Barr. Desi, according to my producing partner, Desi says, NBC has a great streaming audience base for cooking shows. I have a 3D cooking show packaged with the standard 4K 2D version, comedic cooking shows that bridges differences with food. Is there a market for this new media? Do you have suggestions on how to make this look great to a buyer or an agent? A 3D cooking show.
You know what? I shoot a lot of shows. I have 5 shows in production right now. We don't shoot any of them in 3D. I don't know enough about it. I know the big thing that I'm doing, that I've been doing, especially the last 6 months, is virtual reality with green screens. I actually directed 5 episodes from home in May, which was interesting. I really don't know if there's a market for 3D, and currently all of my network and daytime shows that I'm directing, we are not doing in 3D. So and yes, you're right, NBC, they just started the Peacock streaming service. There's for daytime Nosy, N-O-S-E-Y, which is you can watch all the old talk shows. We're owned by Comcast. There's all kinds of platforms. I'll give you in our daytime and syndication for NBC, I have to tell you, even like Judge Jerry Springer, Maury, Steve Wilkos, Kelly Clarkson, Access Hollywood, our streaming audiences are huge. Jerry Springer, you wouldn't think, did a TikTok. My 25-year-old daughter had to tell me what that is. I'm not that out of there, but I've never made a TikTok video. 2 million people watched his TikTok. So the streaming audience, NBC really, is working really hard in making sure the streaming. We have a whole division. Our division is run by a guy named Eric Hansen, who's wonderful at all this digital stuff. And you're right, there is a huge market for this, and they're actually making money on it. There is a good revenue stream when you have a certain amount of viewers or likes or whatever it is, but I don't really know anything about the 3D.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess does the cooking? There was a cooking food network, right? That could be an option too. I was thinking, but
yeah, I mean, there's Food Network, there's HGTV, PBS does cooking shows.
Yeah.
Broadcasting, they have money.
Yeah.
I mean, there's it's a great genre because Rachel Ray has a production company, Martha Stewart has a production company. It's a great genre because cooking shows are really cheap to produce, and you can gang them. Just like court shows are very cheap to produce. That's the new flavor. You can shoot 130 episodes of a cooking or court show in about 30 days of production. So that's, I think, why those are a good genre to do.
A few other questions again about getting an agent, but I know we already sort of covered that. Erin mentions again her show LARPing is a live action role play, adults that dress up like they're Dungeons and Dragons characters and war. It's absurd, she says. Though I'm sure Dungeons and Dragons fans would probably like it. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any others that we have not addressed yet. Anna says it definitely feels very chicken and egg when it comes to selling your scripts. Would you recommend submitting to script competitions in order to get noticed by more established or well-connected managers? Screenplay competitions, things like that.
100%. I'll touch on two things quick because I just want to go back on the agent thing. Listen, an agent is not the end all to life, and I don't want it to be the theme here. It's a good connection. It does not mean that you're even going to get anything. So when I mean an agent, somebody that's connected, even if you have a producer or somebody that can help you, somebody that will take a call from somebody that that will say, I have this script, I have this person, you should look at it. It is the chicken and the egg. It's very, very hard. Even me, as primarily being a multicam director and a commercial producer, it's hard for me to get a drama. It's like the chicken before the egg. They want me to have experience until they'll let me have a series, but then they won't let me have a series. So it's the same thing. They want you to have experience in producing or directing or writing scripts, but yet they won't buy or hire you to do it. And I really believe it's about networking. One quick example, at the Big Apple Film Festival, which at first I didn't even know there were awards, and I was flattered that we won Best Short. I went to the meet and greet, and I met 5 filmmakers that I didn't know before. We were just talking. We formed a little group before the pandemic, and then after we did it in Zoom, we had monthly meetings. I brought them 5 of my TV NBC people, ADs, directors, a DP, and we made a little group of about 10 people. And all of a sudden, all of our different experiences came into play. And I have to tell you, I actually got a connection from one of the filmmakers that was asking me something. So I think it's about networking, and submit your scripts to as many festivals as you can afford to do, as many competitions as you can afford to do. I know this sounds bad, but I really only read scripts as I'm searching for our next film that have been accepted in competition. You don't have to win, but when you get into a film, when you get accepted as a submission for a film festival like Big Apple or some of the other film festivals and some of the other screenplay competitions, it means that your script is at the right point to be read and make sense. So you don't have to win, but you do have to be accepted. And that's why I would suggest that. And you 100% will meet people with lots of experience, because that's where we look to find scripts and to find different people.
Yeah, I was just going to say, in regards to screenplay competitions, we have one. There's plenty of screenplay competitions. You know, like you said, Adam, winning is not necessarily what it's all about. It's getting it in the hands of people who have experience reading scripts for production companies and studios and agencies and things like that. It's just getting your script out there, circulating amongst people who do this for a living, you know, and getting it out there into the world. So yeah, I think that's a good point. It's not necessarily about winning or not. It's just about getting into the hands of readers.
Well, and it also means to me that your script is complete, because you'd be surprised when somebody sends me a script, in the middle I get all lost. Because you have to understand, if I buy a script to produce, you're going to rewrite a good amount of it, only because it may not make sense visually, how we're going to shoot it. It won't change the overall feel. It won't change the overall intent or any of the real like, it's more critiquing the dialogue. You know, like I'll give you an example. When I bought A Bathroom on Drake, which won all these best short scripts, comedy scripts, all around the world, the writer wanted it to start with this big expansive scene of the kid. It's basically about a kid that gets locked in a bathroom, but the first shot was this big expansive scene outside of this kid riding his bicycle to get home because he has to go to the bathroom in 1968 in Brooklyn. It was in Chicago, but we made it Brooklyn. So what I did was, I remember when I was young, we used to put baseball cards in our spokes, I'm dating myself, and we would make the wheels go click, 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 click. And then because of rights and clearances, so what I said to the writer was, I want to start the movie where you hear the clicking, click, 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 click. It could be a train, it could be a subway, it could be anything. And then you fade up, and the first shot is the close-up of the wheel with the card going, and then I went to the wide shot of the neighborhood. You'll note that we had to use the ace of spades, which, yes, the script supervisor told me that means the devil or something, I don't know. She was like going on and on. But we used the ace of spades because they didn't have a copyright on it. And I couldn't use a baseball card because we didn't have enough money to clear it. So, because if you're doing a film, you have to clear anything like that. So my point is that when the script gets to a certain point in a festival or gets accepted, I will read it, but know that it's going to change a lot in what it actually becomes. So the point is, imagine if I had a script that was a little convoluted in the middle, it would be just months more work, because it took us almost a year to get the script going and the budgets and just everything going until we actually shot it.
Yeah, I mean, just a perfect example. Just, before, you were talking about, looking for a script for a certain project, and I mentioned, I was like, oh, I know this writer actually has been doing well in some competitions, and you were like, oh, yeah, sure, send it over to me, I would take a look at it. So, I mean, that's, again, an example of how I guess, these competitions certainly can be beneficial for getting your work.
Yeah, they really are. And my group, we're looking, we have an independent group, we're funded, and we're looking to do a short horror and a possible lower budget, trying to stay within $1 million or so, feature of a horror, but the feature would have to be in one location. That's the key to keeping the money down. And we decided this year, hopefully the world will heal itself and we can actually get into production in a safe way. We'll probably do the short first and then look for late fall of next year to do the feature.
Cool. Very cool. Erin had asked, as someone who hears a bunch of pitches, what are, I guess, assets of a strong pitch? And on the opposite end of the spectrum, what makes you roll your eyes? What makes for a good pitch and what makes for a not so good pitch?
Well, so I will say at NBC, I don't really listen to a lot of the pitches. That goes, you know, how our syndication group works is there's a development team, and there's an executive vice president, and a manager in the team. And the executive vice president, she oversees our entire division. I do sit in some pitches from production companies that we know. As far as rolling my eyes or not, I just think the only suggestions I would have, that really doesn't really happen. We don't really do that in the meetings. We're kind of stone-faced or laughing, or we're very, you know, they'll tell you right away, nobody's going to waste your time. If you get into the pitch meeting, you've been vetted and you've been through a whole process with us. My thing is to do your pitch and then stop talking. I find that a lot of people that pitch go on and on and on. And I think you have to do your presentation, whether it's a PowerPoint or whatever you're presenting, whether you're sending a sizzle reel in advance, and then just kind of listen to what they say and don't interrupt. So people tend to be so excited in pitch meetings that you end up not really saying what you want because they won't stop talking. So that would be my suggestion. You know, do your pitch, go in there, try to be calm, you know, don't be so in their face, and just give your pitch, stop, listen, and answer questions.
And also in regards to pitching, Brady was asking, Brady's a junior in college, and Brady had the project that takes place in the first decade of the new millennium, regarding taboo activities, et cetera. And I was asking, how would you get, what's the best way to get to pitch? Here it says, I have many shows written in films. How would you suggest the best way for me to get to pitch? Writing contests, a master's degree?
Finish college. There's really, listen, I don't really have an answer for that. I mean, I would say finish college, intern, you know, interning. If any of this group is in college currently, internships, very, very important. In our, we run a talk show facility in Connecticut where we do 5 shows there in Stanford. 90% of our new hires as production assistants are from interns. Intern, NBC, you know, you can go on NBC.com. We have a very good paid internship program. Unfortunately, it's changed a lot. Right now, the interns are not, you know, we're not doing it on site because it's a closed studio until the pandemic, something better happens in the world. In a normal world, though, intern, you get the most experience. If you want to be working in feature films, try to intern with Universal. Disney has an internship program. You know, production companies will hire interns. Interns are cheap labor, and lots of these production companies are going to use as many interns as possible. Before the pandemic in Connecticut, we had at least 15 interns and a couple pages working for us. NBC has the page program. So finish college. Getting a master's is more about yourself, if that's what you feel you want to do. For me, when I hire production assistants or director assistants, it's really about the person. I don't really care if you have a master's or not. So that would be the answer to that.
Adam Summer asked, would you be open to accepting scripts and reviewing them, or is that not allowed due to copyright, intellectual property, etc.?
It depends on what it is. I would, you know, the best way to do is just reach out on directoradam.com. There's a place to submit stuff. I'm kind of weary. If I like your script and I feel comfortable with it, I would I don't really want scripts. I want a treatment. The best way is to send me a treatment, because if I'm going to read your script, I'm going to have us both sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, to protect my company and all of you. The best thing for me is to get a treatment, very basic, not more than 1 page, that just lays out whatever it is that you're trying to do. That would be the only way that I would read it.
Okay. Over in the Q&A section here, Mary asked, where interning is not an affordable option. If you're unable to afford to be an intern, those of us, she says, out of school with experience in the industry, but not yet repped, actor, writer, producer, filmmaker, any other options if interning is not the affordable way to go?
I mean, I guess just do your networking. Again, I know, use your LinkedIn, use your Instagrams, your Facebook, whatever you're doing. You just got to network. I mean, I do have like 3 or 4 friends that are actors. You really need an agent to be an actor. But I have to tell you, agents representing actors will take mostly everybody. It's different than an agent that is looking for, it's different than an agent that's going to represent you as a production exec or a director or, a writer or something like that. I mean, I just know that the few actors that I know, they get a lot of, they go on a lot of casting calls. And I think that those types of agents are looking for as many different diverse people as they can. And as far as for us, anything that I produce is SAG-AFTRA. Even my short there's minimums. It's not as expensive as you think. I paid Jerry Springer $175 a day. There's minimums that are SAG-AFTRA. I won't do a film that's not SAG-AFTRA. It wasn't full union, but it was DGA, and it's just how I do stuff. Because it's a union doesn't mean that it's so expensive. All these unions have different levels of budgets. There's under 50,000, there's under 10,000, there's over $1 million. So I would say try to get as much representation as you can and try to get as many hours as you can and get into the unions.
Okay. Mauricio has a half-hour horror comedy pilot, which could be proposed into a short or feature. It's called Afterlife. He just wants to share the log line. Recently deceased Tyler joins a team of rowdy ghosts whose job is to assimilate new spirits. During a routine assignment, a ghost hunting reality TV crew interrupts them while their target is still on the loose. Who will get to her first? Our ghosts, the ghost hunters, or the evil spirits who would like nothing more than to possess a freshly crossed over soul? So that's Mauricio's pilot. Something to think about. I'm sure if you want to read it, you can be happy to.
Again, just to say to the group, the executive producers that finance what I'm doing and what my team is doing, we really decided we're only going to look at things that have at least been accepted in some sort of forum, whether it's a festival or we just don't read stuff that hasn't been proven as a script. It's unfortunate, but we were just getting, hundreds of scripts.
We have an anonymous attendee that asks, how would you suggest approaching a pitch package for a 1-hour action drama series planned as 3 8-episode seasons, which the creator would prefer not to script in its entirety? Pilot script plus outlines for all remaining episodes. Include a show Bible. So should a show Bible be included as well? Also, is it necessary to have found another screenwriter to write the remaining episodes, or should I assume that network would recruit one?
That's hard to, I don't know enough about it. I will tell you that the 2 friends that I've had that have actually sold pilots that went into series, they really only needed 1 episode. They wrote the first pilot, but then the network hired other writers in one instance, and they were just getting money. They were not involved after that. And then the other person, she sold her script and then was included in the first 5 episodes. From what I've experienced, you really don't need to write more than one episode. It should just be a really good episode.
Okay. The question from Jayesh. A long form, the log line is a long form collegiate comedy series that highlights the lives of a baker, a burnout, and an international student on the brink of breakdown as they collectively break bread and cultural stereotypes over a Boston-based marijuana bakery. So Jayesh's question is, we have a few pitches coming in the next week. It's on the Independent Film Project. The IFP Independent Film Week is coming up next week. So Jayesh has some pitches coming up next week on the Independent Film Project Week Forum, and have 125 minutes and it's 25 minutes per pitch. How formal and extensive do you think the pitch should be given that we only have 25 minutes?
I mean, I think 25 minutes is too long, frankly. I mean, I've been in meetings where I've pitched and it's literally a 15-minute meeting. I mean, I think the first 8, just like a sizzle reel shouldn't be more than 6 minutes. Mm-hmm. After 10 minutes, they're going to lose interest. You know, I think you got to come right out of the gate with your best presentation, and then let them ask questions. You know, a lot of people in our industry have very short attention spans. And I think going more than 10 minutes is way too much, because I want to think about it. And in 25 minutes, it's too much information. So
I'm wondering if they extended it because it's virtual, because I usually go to those pitch forums at IFP every year. They're usually shorter. I'm wondering if they changed the format.
Yeah, maybe they did. I would say just have, you know, if they allow you to do any presentations, you know, make it look cool and you want to get their attention, and don't give them too much, you know, very concise, and just make sure that when you're done with your pitch that everybody goes, oh, that's good, or instead of being confused.
Right. Mary also asked, how do you keep the most creative control?
You won't. You'll have none. I mean, unless you're Steven Spielberg, it's not going to happen. Right. You know, when you sell something to a network, and especially when you're first time, you'll have you may get some back end if the thing goes financially. Another friend of mine, he's at this point, a very experienced writer and director. He's in his 60s. When about 30 years ago, he sold a script to Warner Brothers. They gave him an office. They never produced the pilot, and he sat there for a year doing nothing. He had zero control. So in my experience, if I sold a film to Disney, I would have no say in anything and be so excited that I sold the film to Disney. So the answer is, you'll have very little control, but that's when you need a really good lawyer to represent you, or an agent, or whatever you want to say. You know, it could be a lawyer, and try your best. But even the shows that I direct for NBC, I don't really have much say in a lot of things after all these years.
Okay, and as far as horror scripts, Miguel Miller has a horror script that was a finalist at Stage 32 competition. So congratulations on that. The log line is, a desperate mother tries to find a way to save her young son from an evil spirit that wants to replace her own son that was brutally taken away from her. He writes, if you're interested, please let me know. His name is Miguel Miller.
Yeah, so again, anybody that has any horror films, long or short, that have made it to any kind of submissions and been accepted as a full script, go to my website, send me a submission. You know, there's a place to send me something. I just want a treatment. You know, it doesn't have to be long. Just tell me basically what it is, and then the group and I will read it and let you know if we want to do an NDA and read your script. You know, just so you know, in my group, there's 5 of us that read the scripts. I have an executive producer, 2 producers, and another writer and me. So I guess, 4 of us.
Carrie Quinn has a project TV pilot called Sugar. And the log line is, after the unexpected death of her husband, a woman returns home to New York, broke and disillusioned, only to discover her family is also broke and disillusioned. An English professor out of moves, she trades in grading papers for dating sugar daddies. So that's her log line. And her question is, how does a person over 50 break into this industry?
Well, I'm over 50. I mean, I don't think there's no age. Age doesn't matter. I mean, I work with 20-year-olds and 70-year-olds, I just don't think it's like most industries. I don't care what age you are. And unless I'm way off base, I've never experienced, I'm really looking at the person. I don't really care how old you are. Maybe if you're a little older, you'll be a little more mature, but that's not true either. So I just don't, I think age has it doesn't matter at all. Listen, I'm well over 50, and, I find that the young directors that work for me, I'm excited about it. They call me their mentor, and they're listening to me, and I'm invigorated by young people, and it's a very good relationship. So as an older person, I think that you bring different experiences, whether you were a banker or a teacher or whatever it is. And I think that the age doesn't matter, and it's all about the person.
Cool. Jennifer Phillips has a pilot called Avenging Angels. A mismatched pair of angels united by their frustration with the perpetual shortcomings and cruelty of the humans they are charged with observing decide to create a pair of superheroes to do what their heavenly jobs forbid them from doing, intervening in the land of the living and to protect the innocent. The question I think you kind of addressed already: how would I be able to identify an agent that works in a specific genre?
I think
pilot is like drama, fantasy. You had mentioned go on Google, look up which agents. Is that correct? Those you mentioned.
Yeah, Google, LinkedIn. You just gotta find out the names.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? If they think, trust me, if an agent somebody will answer you. And if they feel that they can make money off of you or whatever you're trying to do with them will be able to be sold, they're going to take you. Because remember, all they need as many clients as they can working. And they need as many. If my agent puts me in front of a production company and I'm successful, then she can also put 6 other clients on it. I did a show called The Science of Stupid for National Geographic. It's with the host, Ben Aaron, and it's premiered on Monday on National Geographic at 9 p.m. It was a very cute little show. Well, my agent had either 2 or 3 of us on the show at once. So that's all they want to do. If they can take you on as a client and put you on something, and while they're putting you on something, go, hey, I have these other 6 people. That's all it's about. It's about networking.
Right. Mary McGloin says that she has 3 pilot scripts, 2 comedies, 1 animated. What do you recommend finding in first order to be able to pitch without an agent? And is it worth it to sign a submission release and send to a contact at a network without an agent? Should you release it to someone without an agent?
I mean, you could do that. If I don't know enough about it. In my group, we don't usually accept things like that. But if there are networks and a way that they may have a forum for you to send in a script and release it to them, that's fine. You just better have somebody that knows what they're doing read whatever you're agreeing to, because you don't want it. You just want to make sure you know exactly what they're asking you to do by signing a release and submitting it. Trust me, these big networks are not going to go against whatever you've agreed, but just make sure you know what you're agreeing to.
Gwendolyn is an artist, producer. She wants to know what the best strategy is to approach a network to present your project idea, which I guess you covered.
Yeah, we covered that
already. Okay, and hold on one second here. Uh, Miguel, well, Miguel Miller, he had mentioned about his horror project before. Um, he has another show, Culture Now and Then. It's a reality travel series. Anthony Bourdain show meets Vice, the lives of people from different countries, showing us how art and influence their environment, their lives, their surroundings, and how our perceived cultural differences are not so different after all. So Miguel would like to know if you believe this is a marketable concept, and if so, who would you recommend presenting it to?
I mean, I don't know enough about this. It's probably, the good and bad things about these types of shows is that you shoot them mainly in the field.
Hmm.
So they're not that expensive except for the travel. I think a lot of that's been put on hold.
Right.
I don't really know enough about it.
All right. And we're almost at the end here. So I just want to, there was just one other point I wanted to get to. Hold on just one second. Oh, yeah. Okay. Lastly, there was just one last two-part question. And that question was from Anna Stojic. And the question is, first, wondering whether you would recommend submitting scripts to gigs listed on the International Screenwriters Association. Are you familiar with that site?
No.
Okay. I actually remember that as well. I get those emails. I actually knew a couple of writers that got some jobs through the International Screenwriters Association, some of those gigs that come out. I have heard writers that got some jobs. They didn't receive a huge amount of compensation, but they did get work and they did get a writing credit. So that was cool.
Listen, and networking is networking. Anything that gets your name out there is a plus for you. You never know. I mean, you just never know what person is connected and what person, happens to be looking, just like I said with Jonathan's film festival, the Big Apple, I never thought in a million years that I would meet these other filmmakers and connect with them and actually start a whole relationship. Never in a million years would I think of that. So you never know. I mean, network and apply to everything.
Right. Yeah, we had a couple of years ago, a couple of filmmakers who both had short films at our festival. This is a while ago. It's probably about 7 years ago at this point. But I remember there was two filmmakers that had a short film. They each had a short film. They met at the festival. They ended up collaborating on a feature. That feature ended up getting out there into some of the A-list festivals and all that. They got some pretty good distribution deal. The film ended up coming out. But I remember they met there. They both were two filmmakers in a short film. So yeah, it's just, I guess, a matter of just interacting with people, attending events, if not in person, virtually, or whatever it may be. The other part of this question was, I'm not sure if you know the answer to this. Some requests for scripts on places like ISA indicate that they're looking for a script with no limitations. What does that caveat mean? Do you know
I wouldn't know. Yeah.
No limitations? Okay.
I don't know.
All right. So let me just I'm just going to look through here and make sure we've spoken to everyone, which I believe we have at this point. Just this one last one from Adam Summer. He has 6 horror film scripts, 3 of which he has filmed already on no budget, mostly for fun. But can he use them as proof of concept?
Only if they look good. Don't send somebody something. I always have this old caveat as an older union director. You never want to show a producer, something, and they go, well, this is going to look like this. So you don't want to show somebody a set that's not lit all the way and say, oh, it's going to have blue lights on it. We're putting them on now. So it's that same thing. Don't ever try to sell your concept with something that's not the best. So if you're doing something for fun that may not look as good, I think it's better writing it. I don't think you gain any. If you're gonna put something down on film or media or whatever you're recording it on, then it's gonna put in my head what this is gonna look like. Versus when you read it, when I read a than you're going to have visually. So I wouldn't recommend sending something that you've shot unless it's great.
Also, Mervyn Bourne, he's creating a reality docu-series. It's called Puzzles, Deciphering Life. It's a television talk series that addresses the human experience face to face. He's wondering, is there a market currently, you think, for reality docu-series?
Not that I know. I mean, I don't know enough about it.
Okay. All right. And lastly, Ken Lawrence has a web series called I Like Chains, a story of a woman who fails in California and goes back home to Milwaukee after her ex-boyfriend stole her hit pilot idea. He's trying to find out just how to get it out there. And again, I know you had mentioned just attending festivals, conferences, networking, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn. Just, I got to tell you, the takeaway from this hopefully will be network.
Right.
With all these services and all these channels and all these streaming services, everybody is looking for content.
Right. Okay. All right. And that is. Okay. Sorry. Just one last one because Sam Fraser actually came in late. He has something called Smart People Being Stupid, Intelligent and Successful People Engaging in Silly, Random, and Seemingly Pointless Events on their days off in an insane effort to escape the mundane and recapture the American dream. Just wants to know, he's made short comedic documentaries in the style featuring events like tall bicycle jousts in craft beer parking lots and cardboard boat races, things of that nature. It's screened at over 100 festivals and won awards. It's doing the festival circuit. What advice still would be to approach production companies in connections to networks? And again, I guess that's the same.
That would be it, yeah.
Same thing, right? Festivals, conferences, things like this, talking to people like yourself.
It's all the same theme. Get it out there. Get it to people that you would never think would actually watch it.
Right, right. All right. So that is our time. I just want to say, again, in case anybody would like to contact you regarding any projects, and of course, Adam will not be able, of course, to respond to everybody, right? Unless something specifically maybe jumps out at you, perhaps you would be able to respond, but he will not be able to respond to everyone. However, your website, you want to just repeat the website again?
Yep, it's directoradam.com.
Okay, directoradam.com. Okay, so that's directoradam.com.
At the bottom of every page, it says like submission or whatever. You can send me whatever you need through that, and then somebody will answer you.
Okay, and I'm actually going to just type it. I just actually typed it in myself. I think everyone should have that. Directoradam.com. And on the website, there is a contact button. So you can click contact. And again, if you want to, present any, information about your projects, again, Adam won't be able to respond to everyone, but if something jumps out, you never know, right?
Yeah, and just don't send me a note. Don't send me a treatment. And we'll reach back to you if we want to. Just give me a little introduction. Hey, I met you here. I have this show about this, or I need advice about this. And then we'll reach out back to you if we're interested.
Yep, and keep an eye out for the film A Bathroom on Drake. That's Adam's short film starring Jerry Springer. Great film.
Yeah, you can watch it on the website.
There you go. You can watch it on the website. Very cool. So I want to thank you, Adam Sorota from NBCUniversal, director. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. Wish everybody much luck and success on their projects. And good luck, everyone. Thank you, Adam.
Thank you. Thank you, Jonathan. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.